The story begins with a woman named Charlie Huxton being interviewed by journalist Blaine Gossip. Charlie is no ordinary person. She is the founder, CEO, and majority shareholder of a well-known fashion company called Singular Sportswear. However, Charlie's success didn't come easily. Before becoming a successful entrepreneur, Charlie had a career as a model. In fact, Charlie was once married to a famous Hollywood actor. Unfortunately, their marriage didn't last long. After just 1 year and 2 months, they decided to get divorced. Since then, Charlie has never been seen dating anyone. This made Blaine curious about who Charlie's current partner might be. But when asked, Charlie firmly stated that it was private and she wouldn't discuss it. Even though Blaine kept pushing, Charlie remained unmoved. Charlie even decided to end the interview session as her focus was solely on discussing her success in the business world. Not long after that, Charlie received a call from her colleague, Lark. Lark told her that Godfrey, their lead designer, was upset because his designs had been rejected again by Charlie. Godfrey, known for his flamboyance, vented his frustration to Lark. Lark asked Charlie to reconsider the design, considering they had paid Godfrey a hefty salary. However, Charlie stood her ground. To her, Godfrey's design did not meet the company's standards. When Charlie finally arrived at the office, the situation had escalated. Godfrey entered her office without permission and intentionally deleted all the documents Charlie had prepared, hoping that his design would still be accepted by the marketing team. The action definitely made Charlie very angry. Without hesitation, Charlie immediately fired Godfrey. But Godfrey, feeling wronged, didn't stay quiet. Charlie threatened to take the matter to court while throwing some of her signature sarcastic comments. Lark, who heard about the firing, immediately protested to Charlie. As the second largest shareholder in the company, Lark felt disappointed that Charlie didn't discuss such a big decision with her first. However, Charlie remained firm in her decision. To her, besides Godfrey's designs not meeting the standards, his act of deleting the documents had crossed the company's privacy line. After the incident, Charlie and Lark attended a meeting with the marketing team to discuss the previous quarter's sales report. At that moment, the conflict between Charlie and Lark resurfaced. This time, Lark questioned Charlie's decision to abruptly halt the massive discount campaign worth $271 trillion. The campaign was stopped earlier than initially agreed upon, and Lark felt this decision was made without consulting the team. Charlie, as usual, defended her decision by saying it was based on careful analysis. She was confident that it was the best move for the company. However, this situation clearly showed that Charlie tended to make decisions unilaterally without listening much to her team's input. Meanwhile, we're introduced to two bodyguards, Jonathan and Vargas. Their job at that time was to escort a famous actor. After finishing his scene on set, the actor decided to chat with one of the extra actresses. Vargas chose to step out for a break, leaving Jonathan to stand guard in the room. A few moments later, Jonathan heard a scream for help from the extra girl. Quickly, Jonathan attacked the actor until the girl was able to escape. As a result of his actions, Jonathan's boss immediately fired him. At night, Charlie was seen smiling to herself. It turned out that Charlie was secretly impressed by the charm of the marketing manager she had met earlier at the office, maybe because she hadn't felt that way in a long time. Her mind wandered into dreams about things that made her blush. The next day, the atmosphere in the office became tense. Charlie received a doll that was sent along with a death threat. The doll scared the employees, but Charlie saw it as just another part of being a public figure. To her, threats like that were a risk of her position. However, Lark and other top executives were worried that the threat could affect Charlie's safety, as it might impact the company's stock value. Lark, along with other directors, decided to hire a personal bodyguard for Charlie. At first, Charlie refused, saying she didn't like being controlled, especially by a bodyguard. But after Lark asked her to reconsider for the greater good, Charlie eventually agreed. The next day, Charlie saw someone inspecting the underside of her car. Worried the person was planning to plant a bomb, Charlie immediately called 911. However, by the time the police arrived, the person had disappeared. Later, Charlie realized she had misunderstood. The person was actually Jonathan, the new bodyguard hired by Lark. At that moment, Jonathan was simply checking the car's brakes to ensure its safety. After seeing Jonathan's identification, Charlie began to trust him and decided to give him a chance. Charlie called Lark and asked her to give a heads up if she was planning anything like this in the future. On the other hand, Charlie couldn't hide her admiration for Jonathan's handsome and muscular appearance. Even so, Charlie still refused to let Jonathan drive her car, arguing that the bodyguard's job was to protect, not drive. In reality, Charlie was just afraid of losing control of the situation. During the drive, Charlie asked about Jonathan's work experience. She claimed it was because she wanted to know the abilities of her new bodyguard, although deep down, it was just a way to make Jonathan uncomfortable, hoping he would give up and quit. Jonathan remained calm, dealing with Charlie's deliberately difficult attitude. Before heading to the office, Charlie stopped by the hospital and asked Jonathan to wait in the car, but Jonathan secretly followed her to ensure her safety. He saw Charlie heading to the oncology department to pay for the treatment of a patient. Not knowing the real reason, Jonathan misunderstood and thought Charlie was suffering from cancer. In a brief conversation, Jonathan mentioned that his mother passed away from leukemia when he was 15. He offered to be a listener if Charlie ever needed someone to talk to. Charlie, who didn't expect such attention, was left speechless. On his first day at work, Jonathan kept a close eye on Charlie, which made her feel secretly nervous. Although she initially didn't like having a bodyguard, Charlie slowly started to feel comfortable with Jonathan's attention. After making sure everything was safe, Jonathan decided to investigate further. He went to the hospital that Charlie had previously visited to find out what treatment his new boss was receiving. However, the doctors there seemed confused and told him that Charlie had never undergone any treatment at that hospital. That night, Godfrey received an anonymous message from someone who turned out to be the sender of the doll terror, Bonica Sante. The message came from a hidden number. In the message, the sender tried to persuade Godfrey to collaborate, claiming that they had a common enemy, Charlie. The next morning, Jonathan accidentally bumped into Charlie, causing her coffee to spill on her clothes. Without thinking, Charlie immediately told Jonathan to go to the bathroom to clean up and change. Not long after, Charlie came back with a change of clothes for Jonathan. While there, Charlie accidentally saw Jonathan's muscles clearly visible as he took off his shirt. She also noticed some scars on Jonathan's legs. Curiosity made Charlie ask about Jonathan's background. From his story, Charlie became even more impressed, as Jonathan turned out to be a hero during his time in the Marines. Jonathan once used his own body to protect 3 young girls from a bomb explosion. However, the incident left a scar on his right leg. After fully recovering, Jonathan was allowed to work as a bodyguard. In the middle of the conversation, Lark suddenly commented that Jonathan was also physically attractive. Charlie immediately denied it hurriedly, although her face looked a bit awkward. Soon after, Charlie received an anonymous call on the office phone line. The voice on the other end sounded chilling, threatening that the caller would enjoy the moment when Charlie died. Unfortunately, no one saw who used the phone. Jonathan tried to calm Charlie down, telling her not to panic too much. He said they would check the CCTV footage and report the incident to the police. Lark, one of their colleagues, suggested that Charlie take some time off to calm down. On the way home, Charlie apologized to Jonathan for staring at his scars without permission. She admitted that she didn't mean to embarrass him. Fortunately, Jonathan didn't mind and remained relaxed. Jonathan started asking who might dislike Charlie enough to make threats like this. Charlie felt that no one hated her. Jonathan suggested that maybe it was Godfrey, given the story about the drama surrounding his firing. However, Charlie was sure that Godfrey didn't have the guts to do something like that. Jonathan then asked, "How about your ex-husband?" Charlie confidently replied that her ex couldn't be the one behind this, as their relationship was still fine. However, Jonathan reminded her that often, the person who holds the biggest grudge is an ex. He also shared his view that possessive love could be very dangerous. Charlie nodded in agreement. The conversation started to turn toward Charlie's personal life. Jonathan asked if past trauma was the reason Charlie hadn't dated anyone again. Charlie denied it, saying that she had dated often. However, Jonathan seemed skeptical and still doubted Charlie's story. He even asked, "When was the last time you went on a date?" Feeling cornered, Charlie finally asked Jonathan to stop the car. With an annoyed expression, Charlie handed something to Jonathan as proof. However, Jonathan still insisted that it didn't prove anything. A small argument followed until they suddenly realized a car was trying to hit them from behind. That night, after making sure all the houses were secure, Jonathan asked Charlie to rest. However, before leaving, Charlie, curious, asked, "So where are you planning to sleep tonight?" Jonathan said he wanted to sleep in the car, keeping watch. Charlie immediately shook her head firmly. "No, you can't sleep in the car. You saved my life today and I'm not going to let you sleep outside." "Sleep inside," she said seriously. Jonathan just nodded slightly, appreciating Charlie's firmness. However, Charlie continued, "Besides, we have unfinished business. I want to know what you were going to say earlier." Jonathan took a moment to breathe before responding. "I just wanted to say that sometimes you try so hard not to show that you care about others. Maybe because in a world like this, caring can be seen as a weakness. But honestly, I know you're so much better than that." The statement left Charlie silent, a little touched but also feeling cornered. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, trying to stay calm. Jonathan changed the subject. "By the way, who was the person you met at the hospital earlier? I know you went there." Finally, Charlie opened up. "His name is Ryan. His mother used to work at Singular Corporation, but because of a small mistake, his mother was fired, and the company refused to help with his treatment. I felt sorry, so I paid for Ryan's hospital bills with my own money." Hearing that, Jonathan couldn't hide his admiration. You really have a big heart, Charlie. Not many people would do that. Charlie just shrugged. I think it's the price I have to pay for all the success and independence I have. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Godfrey met with Lark. From their conversation, it was revealed that Lark was the mastermind behind all the terror Charlie had been facing. However, Godfrey started to have doubts about continuing with the plan. I don't want to be part of this anymore. The risks are too high compared to the payment, said Godfrey, still traumatized after almost being shot by Jonathan. Lark didn't like that attitude. Without hesitation, Lark shot Godfrey dead. To make sure Jonathan would be blamed, Lark took a bullet from Godfrey's car and inserted it into his body, since the bullet matched Jonathan's gun. The next day, news of Godfrey's death spread quickly. Everyone, including Jonathan and Charlie, was shocked. Shortly after, the police came to their office to ask for statements. The police seized Jonathan's gun for examination. From the investigation, they found that the bullet in Godfrey's body matched Jonathan's weapon. On the other hand, the police also found a phone in Charlie's desk drawer filled with threatening messages to Godfrey. Lark, who had carefully planned everything, managed to make the police believe that Jonathan and Charlie were involved in Godfrey's murder. The police accused Charlie of ordering Jonathan to commit the murder, or at the very least, Jonathan did it to protect his girlfriend, Charlie. In the end, the police decided to detain both of them, but Jonathan managed to fight back and escaped with Charlie, fully aware of the complicated situation they were now facing. Charlie immediately asked, sounding confused, "Why do we have to run, Jonathan? We could just fight them in court." Jonathan sighed, then answered seriously, "Because someone set us up, Charlie, but right now we don't know who the culprit is. If we stay here, they'll win before we can figure everything out." Jonathan then asked sharply, "Who do you think benefits the most from all this?" Charlie paused for a moment, her eyes wandering, but finally she shook her head softly. "I don't know, John." Suddenly, Charlie received a video. The video showed Lark speaking on the Smart People podcast. In the video, Lark openly accused Charlie of being manipulative. Jonathan immediately grabbed Charlie's phone and threw it out the window. "We can't give them a chance to track us," he said firmly. Jonathan added, "Lark, it has to be Lark behind all of this. Lark wants to bring you down so she can take everything. But Lark didn't ask Godfrey to kill you, Charlie. She just used Godfrey to terrorize you. After that, Lark let the police think you had a motive to kill Godfrey. Crazy, right?" Charlie just stayed silent, still trying to process everything Jonathan had said. Jonathan continued, "Now we need to go to Vargas's house to hide. Vargas won't give us a place to stay without payment, but we can convince him." Vargas initially refused to help them, but after Charlie promised to pay $200,000 once this was all over, Vargas finally agreed. That night, Vargas left the house, but it turned out Vargas didn't go far. Instead, Vargas went to Lark and planned to hand Jonathan and Charlie over to her. Vargas asked for $200,000 for their information, but Lark only agreed to pay $100,000. However, Vargas still demanded a share of Lark's stock as an additional payment. When Jonathan woke up in the morning, he immediately contacted his friend to ask for help. Charlie woke up and came over, suspicious as she noticed Jonathan's phone, which looked similar to the one found in the office. This made them have a brief argument. Jonathan quickly apologized, explaining that everything he did was just to protect Charlie. Charlie, though angry, eventually understood. At that moment, Vargas returned and immediately started shooting at them. Luckily, Jonathan and Charlie managed to escape. They stopped at a gas station to refuel. While Jonathan went to buy fuel, Charlie checked Jonathan's phone. She discovered that Jonathan had just contacted a lawyer. Charlie immediately asked, "So, you're trying to save yourself by contacting a lawyer?" Jonathan casually replied, "I just asked for advice. I'm not like you, Charlie, who can buy freedom with money." Charlie, hearing that, just nodded, and then suggested they hide at a friend's house. They were able to get in because Charlie knew the location of the spare key at the house. However, Charlie had another idea. She tied Jonathan up and went outside because she knew Vargas was heading there. Charlie deliberately tied Jonathan up so she could face Vargas alone. Unfortunately, Charlie's plan failed. She was caught by Vargas, who had already arrived. But it turned out that this was all part of Charlie's plan. With Charlie being captured, Jonathan wouldn't be forced to kill them both first. The house actually belonged to Lark, who wouldn't let Vargas kill them there because it would get Lark sent to prison. Not long after, Lark returned home and immediately appeared panicked upon seeing the situation around her. Turns out all of this had been planned by Charlie. Charlie wanted to make Lark confess to everything during this conversation. Lark then ordered Vargas to make Jonathan dig a hole in the backyard to cover their tracks. While doing that, Lark finally admitted to Charlie that Lark had always intended to kill her. Charlie was considered too arrogant and always underestimated Lark, even though Lark felt she had done a lot for their company. But to Charlie, all that didn't mean much. Charlie only gave her 49% of the shares, while Lark controlled 51% of the company. "That's why I'm the one in control," Charlie said with a smile, watching how Lark felt cornered. After that, Charlie asked Jonathan for help and immediately told him that she had recorded all of Lark's confessions. Charlie had also sent the recording to the police. With confidence, Charlie instructed Jonathan to grab Vargas's gun, which was nearby. Charlie then told Vargas, "I've recorded our conversation with my phone in my pocket." Vargas immediately felt threatened and demanded that Charlie hand over her phone. But Charlie casually called the police and told Lark that she had evidence of Lark's confession. At that moment, Jonathan successfully defeated Vargas. Vargas immediately begged Jonathan not to kill him, offering to testify against Lark if Vargas was allowed to live. Not long after, the police arrived and immediately took Lark away. They informed Charlie that forensic examination showed that the bullet that shot Godfrey's car was missing, and the bullet in Godfrey's body had the same paint as Lark's car. The police started to suspect something was off and immediately began digging deeper into the case. Charlie immediately told the police that she had sent them the recording of Lark's confession. Jonathan also informed them that Vargas was ready to testify, and that Vargas was currently in the backyard. All the evidence led the police to finally arrest Lark. A month later, Jonathan informed Charlie that the company he worked for would not pay his salary because of several incidents that happened while Jonathan was protecting Charlie. Hearing this, Charlie immediately offered a solution. "I have a few $1,000,000 to pay your salary," she said. "Your only job, Jonathan, is to protect me." Jonathan, feeling that this issue was finally over, accepted Charlie's offer. He was ready to continue protecting Charlie, even if it meant facing even greater risks.